Exchanging TxDOT sheet borders. In this video, we will introduce the steps needed to replace the generic TxDOT sheet border with a custom sheet border that represents the specific requirements of your projects and/or district. The overall process could include as many as 3 options. You could choose to use 1, 2, or all 3 options. This is completely up to you. All right, let's cover the steps in option number 1. In option number 1, you're going to copy the generic sheet border and modify it to your liking. Prior to modifying the sheet border, there are a couple of rules you need to follow. First of all, don't move the sheet border from its original location. If you do this, your sheet borders will be improperly aligned. Never delete or change the shapes on the outside or the perimeter of the sheet border, and only modify the contents inside the thick white line. Okay, now it's time to copy the generic sheet borders. To find them, go to the 99-Project Standards folder. You will see a subfolder called Sheet Borders. Go ahead and double click on that. And this is where all the generic sheet borders are kept. At this point, you can copy a file and paste it in this same directory. You could create a subfolder, as I did for San Antonio, called it SAT Sheet Borders, and I copied all the generic sheet borders here, and then I renamed them. I believe it's probably a little simpler for the batch process to just keep them copied in the same folder as the generic sheet borders are kept, but that's going to be up to you. At this point, you'll see I have a naming convention where I just put my district initials in front of the sheet border that I'm copying for modification. So I've got SAT Plan 1, SAT Plan 2, and so on and so forth. Now, you may find that you could have multiple disciplines working within this project folder, and you might want to create a sheet border that's named something like SAT underscore roadway underscore plan, or bridge, or underscore TCP. That is completely up to you. You can call the files anything you'd like, and you can copy them wherever you'd like. And that pretty much covers the first option. All right, let's talk about option number 2. With option number 2, there's no need to create subfolders or make copies of the generic sheet border files. It's really easy. You're just going to open one of the generic sheet border files and create models within this, and it's a super easy process. Now, depending on what drawing seed you pick to create your sheets will dictate which generic sheet border DGN you're going to want to open. So if you pick something like Plan 1 to create your sheets, then you're going to want to come to plan1 underscore border.dgn and modify this border. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And now that I've got the file open, we're going to go ahead and create some models, and you're seeing how simple this is all going to be. So let's go ahead and make sure we're in the Open Roads modeling workflow. We'll go to our Home tab. We're going to jump right here to the primary button group, and we're going to click on Models, and it's going to open up my Models dialog box. Now here you're going to see some models that I have already created, but the process is simple. This is the default model. All you need to do is right-click, copy, and give it a name. And I'm going to call this survey. And if you want to put a description in, you can, or your reference logical, hit OK. Well, now you've got all these different models, and these models represent different borders. So if I wanted to use my bridge border, I could double click on it, and now you could see that I've got a border that I've modified specifically for bridge. I've got a model that I've created for maintenance plans. I've got a model for traffic control plans. And of course, we made this new model for our survey plans. So it's super easy to create models. And really all you're doing is you're modifying the original file, creating new models, and customizing these models in the way you want your borders to look when it's printed. And that's it. That is all you need to do for option number 2. All right, finally, we're at option number 3. So the third option is the use of level filters. Level filters will let you build sheet borders via levels that can be grouped and turned on or off by selecting a single level filter. For example, you could create a sheet border for a federal state TxDOT project on several levels and create a level filter that will isolate the levels of the sheet border while automatically turning off every other level. You could repeat this for every type of sheet border you need. So there's something you want to think about. You can combine level filters with models and eliminate the need to create different models. Sometimes you're creating multiple models because you have different level schemas. Why not just create one model with a couple of filters and eliminate the need for extra models? You can do whatever you'd like. You could combine copying a file, you could copy a file, insert models, and you could also insert level filters. Or you could just individually use these 3 options. So I'm going to go ahead and review the creation and use of these level filters. So we're going to go to the Open Roads modeling workflow. We're going to come to the Home tab, and we're going to come over here to the primary button group, and we're going to look for Level Manager. Now, I've already created some new levels and some filters to save time. However, I will be demonstrating every step needed to create these level filters. So the first thing I did was I decided I needed levels for the project. So I just created a couple of levels for each type of border. So I've got a San Antonio State TxDOT text level, San Antonio State TxDOT seals, and I've got the same little format, San Antonio State Consultant text and consultant seals, and then we've got the Federal TxDOT text and the Federal TxDOT seals and a Federal Consultant text and Federal Consultant seals. And I just want you to imagine that these are 4 individual border types. And we're just going to create 4 different borders in one sheet without creating multiple models. So let me show you how it works. Once you've created your levels, you come over here to filters. Now what I do is I just right click, click new, and then I'll just key in the name of my new filter. Now I've already created a group, and they're called SAT sheet borders. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I've done. I've created 4 individual filters that reside under this heading. So I've got my San Antonio Federal Consulting title sheet. And what you're going to notice is that you're seeing the Federal Consultant seal level that we created, the San Antonio Federal Consultant text level that we created, but I've also included the levels for the sheet border. So we want to be able to see our sheet border. And now I'm going to show you how these filters are created. What I'll do is I'll come up here to the Filters tab. Once you come to this Filters icon here at the top, you're going to see all the different types of filters that have been created. And you'll see all types. But I'm going to look at the filters that I created. What I wanted ORD to do is I wanted it to go and look for federal consultant in the level name. And then I put a little underscore because you're going to have federal underscore consultant underscore and then text or seal. In addition to that, I put a comma and then D underscore with an asterisk. The sheet border is created on levels that are called D underscore sheet and then whatever type of element is on that sheet. So I wanted to make sure I could show all the border levels along with the specific changes I've made for each type of border I want. So now I've got my little filters created, okay? I can see them here. This is where you go, Level Manager, to create your level filters. Let me get rid of this. We don't need it. And this is where you build the filters, and this is where you enter the information on how you want to screen out or filter out certain levels or include certain levels. Now, once you're done creating your filter, you want to use the filters, and you can use those by the level display tool. So you're going to come back to your Open Roads Modeling, Home tab, Primary Button Group, and up here you'll see the level display tool. All right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to change how our levels are manipulated from levels to filters. And now what you're going to see is you're going to see all the different filter groups that I created. So if I look here and I look at SA sheet border, San Antonio Federal Consultant Title Sheet, that's the filter for the federal consultant. What you're going to notice is that it's only turned on Fed Consulting Text and Fed Consulting Seal. Those are the two levels I created. Now I want you to use your imagination. You're going to probably have multiple levels. Maybe you're going to have legends, or maybe you're going to have different seals. I didn't have time to really want to put together hundreds of different levels, but I've just created a unique sheet border using level filters. Now, if I need to do a federal TxDOT border, I'll just turn off this filter, turn on my other filter for the federal TxDOT title sheet, and now you can see that's Fed TxDOT text and the Fed Consultant seal. So I'm going to go ahead and look at our state consultant title sheet, and you're going to see the state consulting text and the state consulting seal. I'm going to turn that one off, and now we're going to look at the state TxDOT. So I've got a border specifically for the state TxDOT sheet border. So this is a super easy way to combine level filters to create new borders without having multiple files or multiple models. And that is it for section number 3, or I should say option number 3. All right, so we're done. We finished using one or two or all three of the options that we discussed previously in this video. And now we're ready to use a batch process to automatically replace models and files. So we're going to start first with models. Now what I want to show you is I've got a sheet here that I've cut. It doesn't matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter what DGN I'm in, as long as I'm in a DGN. But in this particular case, I want you to see something. I'm going to go ahead and go Open Roads Modeling Workflow, Home tab, Primary Button Group, and then my Attach Reference. And here you're going to see that I've got a Plan 1 border. And you can see the model here is border. I'm going to double click. It's going to bring up a little dialog box, and I can see all the models here. So what I'm going to tell this script that I'm going to create is I want you to exchange the border model for the border dash SAT maintenance. And so it's going to automate that process for us so that we don't have to go in individually into each sheet to do that. So let me close this up. And I'll close this up. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to go over here and go to File. And then we're going to go to Tools and then to Batch Process. Once we're here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the files that I want to modify. So let's go with Plan 1 through Plan 8. These are some sheets that I've created, and they all have the default border on there. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Done, and now they're in my list. Now you can see it says all models. I don't want that, so I need to go ahead and highlight all of them. And then I'm going to click here and go Default Model Only, and then Apply to Selection, and that's very important. Now what we need to do is we need to create a new command. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. You're going to click on the Create a New Command file. You can give it a name. You can call it Final Command, and go ahead and just hit Enter. And there is your command file. Now it's blank, there's nothing here. We need to tell it what we want to have happen. So I created one earlier, and this is the information you want to type into your command file. First, we're going to detach the plan border.dgn. That's just got the regular model in there. We're going to bring in our plan 1 border.dgn, but this time we're going to call out which model we would like to have attached. So you're going to see RF equals quotation plan 1 underscore border.dgn underscore. Now I need you to remember this. If you hadn't copied your new file into the generic sheet border folder and you went ahead and you created some new folder in a different location, you're going to have to tell this script file the path or it's not going to find your file. That's why I really recommend just copying them in the same sheet borders directory under your 99 standards folder. So make sure you do that. And once you've entered in the name of the sheet border, put a comma, another quotation mark, and the name of the model that you want to have attached. And then I'm going to go ahead and close that up with another quotation mark followed by 6 commas. Now, the 6 commas just represent other options that you have, like reference logicals and things of that sort, but we're not concerned with those things, so I'm just putting 6 commas here at the end, okay? Now, once we're done, we can go ahead and close it, and we'll save it, and we are now ready to run our batch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right here to the batch command. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to bring up another dialog box, and it's showing me, hey, here are the files you're getting ready to manipulate. I've got 8 drawings, and I'm going to replace the models in all 8 drawings. So I'm going to click on Process, and we'll watch it work. We'll watch it do its magic. Go on to the kitchen, get a cup of coffee or some tea, whatever it is, and let's wait on this process to finish. It's really not going to take too long. It's a couple of seconds, maybe 14 seconds per file, and you're going to find that once it's done, it has exchanged the models, and we're going to review that just to make sure. So let's just wait on this process to complete. Now, while we're waiting on that, one of the things that I will tell you is that I really like the models option. I'm not telling you what to do, but I like the models option because I don't have to worry about copying and renaming files. I just simply open the generic sheet border, create a bunch of models in there, and modify my sheet borders within those models. And now all I have to do is run this batch process and exchange the generic border for the custom border that I made. So we're almost done. I probably could have got away with just doing 1 or 2 sheets, but I wanted you to see that you could have 1, 10, 8, 50, it doesn't matter. but it's going to run through this process for you. All right, so everything is done. We can see all of our files have been processed. I'm going to click on the Done button. I'm going to close out my batch process box. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to just go ahead and just close it out. But now when I'm looking at my sheets, I can see that the model has been changed. Instead of having the generic model with the generic border, it now has a maintenance border. And of course, I want you to imagine that we have truly customized this border for the maintenance group. All I did was put text. But if you want to look at your reference file dialog box, you'll look at the name of the border, plan1_border. But now here, when you look under model, you can see it exchanged that model. That's all there is to creating a model inside the generic border sheet and then running a batch process to exchange the generic border model for the custom border model that you've created. The next process that we're going to cover is how to exchange files without manipulating models. And that particular portion of the video is going to be covered by Raylene Lee.
Batch process. Switch the initial model to default model only. Click Add Files. Select the DGNs that need the border changed. Create the command file. Then enter a name and description. And then you're going to click Save. The first key-in is going to be reference, detach, and then the name of the file that you want to detach. The next key-in is to attach a reference. RF equals the new border name, comma, model name, and then 6 commas. Key in fit view extended, and then save settings, which is file design. Click Save and close. On the main dialog, click File, Save As, enter a name and description, and then click Save. Click the Process Batch button. The list of files are shown in a new dialog. Next, click Process.